ladies and gentlemen. It is Thursday, August 11th, 2022. I'm here with Mike Connard. He's the CEO of Vizsla Silver, which of course will be very familiar to my subscribers. We've been following it since it was about 50 cents, and we're pretty happy that we are. Mike released another set of drill holes from what's called the Kapala discovery at their Panuco project yesterday. There's another fantastic set of drill holes. Kapala is clearly turning into something like really, really special. It is a bit different from some of the other veins at Panuco, but all in a good way. I'll let Mike go through the details. Vizsla trades in Canada and the US under the symbol VZLA. I think this is one of the best silver stories out there. And Kapala is just magnified the potential and the leverage that I think Vizsla's got if silver ever stops doing us wrong. We're all hoping it will one of these days. So do you want to give us? Why don't we just start with a brief overview for those that don't know the company that well, and then we'll jump into Kapala itself.
Yeah, sounds good, Eric, and it's good to be back with you here. And we're very excited with the progress that we made at Kapala. It's continued to surprise us, exceed our expectations. But originally, Vizsla made its first discovery at the Napoleon vein. That was about 2 years ago now, and since then we've been very actively drilling, exploring, systematically exploring this district that we've consolidated for the first time in modern history. In March of this year, we put out a resource that predominantly focused on the west of the district here, where I've highlighted. Just a little bit of reference. We're about 45 minutes an hour away from Mazatlan in Sinaloa, Mexico. You land at the airport there if you're going to head to the project. You could go left towards the beach in Mazatlan, or you could take a right-hand turn up the highway and drive on one of two nice highways to our project. You'd eventually, on the old highway, drive over the Napoleon vein where we made our original discovery. And then from Napoleon, we moved over to the east slightly to the Tajitos area, and we're drilling Tajitos. But more recently, towards the end of last year, we made the discovery of Kapala on the northern end of Tajitos. Now, Kapala has basically moved from a new discovery to now our lead vein. If you were to drop a pin in the middle of kind of Napoleon, Tajitos, and Kapala, draw a 500-meter radius, you'd have basically the vast majority of our resources. And we're aiming for an update towards the end of the year, and I think it's going to be substantial. I think that we certainly were surprised the market in terms of upside in the last resource. I'm excited and looking forward to what we put out coming up here towards the end of the year. But maybe now, can you see the press release now?
Yep.
Switch to that. Yep. Okay. So maybe I'll just talk a little bit about the Kapala structure and give a little bit of reference here. So earlier this week, we announced 12.5 meters at over a kilo of silver equivalent. When Vizsla talks about silver equivalent, mostly we're talking about silver and gold. It's about just over 50% silver, the balance gold. In some of our veins, we have low base metal credits, but really silver equivalent refers to silver and gold here at Panuco. Our hole 191, which was a southern extent of the Kapala vein, which is now stretching over 900 meters in strike, and it dips about 400 meters to the east. Our hole 191 returned 1 kilo or 1,011 grams silver equivalent over 12.52 meters true width. In that, we had some spectacular grade, like 5.6 kilos over 1.26 meter. And I'm particularly impressed by this one because it's not every day you see in a silver primary district, you see an intercept that has an ounce gold as well as a credit here. So, we love to see that. But further down the hole 191, we had 5.491 grams silver equivalent over 3.28 meters true width. And then that sub-interval over 12 kilos equivalent. So just fantastic numbers. That wasn't it at all. We have a number of other holes that were in the kilo range and subintervals in the multi-kilo areas. But just to give a reference here, we if we looked at that map earlier, the reference point of the district, all in the western part of the district here, Napoleon, and then the Tajitos-Copala corridor. Basically, the Copala vein was discovered as we were drilling into the Tajitos vein. We were expecting to drill into the target at Tajitos on a subvertical orientation, and far before we expected, we in the hanging wall of Tajitos, we drilled through the Copala structure, which is a low angle structure, and we intersected a true width about 80 meters of mineralization that graded just under 200 grams silver equivalent with some high grade flares in there. But since then, that the Copala vein has grown and astounded us truly. It's grown from essentially 100 meters by 100 meters in mineralization up here in the purple to now over 900 meters in strike north south, and then 400 meters down dip there. I suspect that the Copala structure will continue along strike, and it certainly appears to continue a little bit more in a different orientation, more of a subvertical orientation down to the east, and I'll show a section here to
Actually, just before okay, this map's fine. This map shows it better because I was going to point out to people, just so there was no confusion because of the similarity of colors on the last map, that the indicated and inferred resource from this spring is predominantly Tajitos. There's a little bit you can see sort of in the middle right, middle left of the Copala area. Some of that was resource, but a lot of this new stuff, especially the stuff that's going down to the south, none of that's in the resource yet, right? That's all new stuff.
Yeah, that's right. And so you can kind of, we tried to make it as clear as possible and highlight the grade here, but you can see the March resource is the gray shading on Tajitos. Right. And then you can see a bit of a donut here where you have the existing it was actually 8 holes in that March resource that included about 24 million ounces of silver equivalent combined, indicated and inferred. Right. And that, what it made up about 25%, a quarter of that that resource. We drilled those holes towards the end of the year, and 8 of them on a very conservative search ellipse made it into that resource. Now, we've totally expanded that. We've, in all directions really, and we're encouraged by some of this other southern drilling here outboard of that resource area, like the headline number 191 over here. That 12 meters of a kilo, and then further down here to the south, 81, so 3.5 meters of a kilo as well. Some great grades, 159, 10 meters of 418. The high grade appears to continue over to the east as well.
Okay.
I should say too, what really encourages us and really surprises us, excites us about Copala is that, and I've asked our team, our team, our VPX PhD in epithermal systems in Mexico has visited many of these. I mean, pretty much all of the major epithermal districts in Mexico. I asked him today, actually, is there an analog that reminds you of this Copala vein? And, it's something that goes from 10 meters to 80 meters in thickness and has this flat line orientation. And he said nothing really that, that's a new discovery. Of course, this is what all the old timers, hundreds of years ago loved, because, near surface, flat lying, easy to mine, high grade. But, this appears to be a bit of a relic from days gone by. And I think probably accurately indicates the prospectivity and the upside here that we've been able to enjoy because we've consolidated this district and are able to explore it.
And your geological team, they think this Cristiano fault that you kind of see running sort of southeast, northwest on the west side of much of this, that somehow that's involved, but you're just not quite sure how it's involved yet.
Yeah, it really is still pretty early for our interpretations and our understanding of what the the cause of this fluid and the mineralization was here. But the Cristiano fault is mineralized. Probably has something to do with what we've experienced here at Copala. We just don't really know the answers yet, but we're too busy with we've got 3 drill rigs on it. We're working on the interpretations as we speak, but we've got a lot of data coming.
Now, are you going to stay with 3 rigs, or do you think you might ramp that up? I mean, it kind of feels like this is definitely the focus right now.
It is definitely a focus. I mean, I should say that 9 rigs across the district, but 3 at Copala. We've also got 3 over at working on Napoleon, and Napoleon continues to grow as well. And before we really hit it off here at Copala, Napoleon, and for good reason, was a major focus for us. That's a 3-kilometer long structure with 3.5 meter wide average vein width. It certainly is important to drill that. But again, we're able to with 3 rigs here, we're able to add a lot of value because for a couple of reasons. One, it's flat line orientation, and it's relatively near surface, certainly towards the northern end. As we get further to the east, it dips down a little bit more below surface, but it's pretty good drilling here because of those 2 features.
Right. Now, aside from the obvious being more flat line and being really thick in places, does this zone does it look any different to the geos? And I mean, where I'm going with that is, stuff like metallurgy. I mean, does it seem like this is a different beast, or is it's just for whatever reason different geometry but the same style of mineralization and everything?
There's a few of similarities, I would say, and Tajitos and Copala, they're close, they're nearby each other. They probably intersect at some point as well, but they're more similar, I would say, than Napoleon. We're still waiting met results from Tajitos there, so but the early indications are that it's high recovery and very positive, and which is not a huge surprise because this is a long-term historic camp that's been producing for many years. But Napoleon has a slight different metallurgy, I would imagine. I mean, it's also got higher base metals there, where we have a bit of an absence of base metals so far at Copala. I think we might see that kick up a little bit more at depth, but where we are drilling so far, it's been precious metals rich. But I would say that Tajitos is probably more closely related to, or Copala is more closely related to Tajitos, and so we're waiting the metallurgy there. Of course, we'll do met studies on met studies on Copala as well. But this is all, on the grand scheme of things, relatively fresh still.
Okay, so where, in your opinion, is this still open? I mean, we're looking at this plan map. Which directions do you think you can go in from the outline that you've got here to sort of keep growing this thing?
Yeah, I think the area that does limit it, although we do have some high grade here west of the Cristiano fault, but the Cristiano fault seems to fence it, I would say, on the west side. So I would say to the south and the southeast here, open, and then to the north as well, open. I probably shouldn't get too far into this. It's early, but we feel like there's other structures in and around, probably further to the west as well, that may have some relation to Copala, or we're able to, or maybe similar to Copala, but maybe separate structures. So my general feeling after talking to the team pretty extensively about this area is that the Tajitos, Copala, they're not one-offs. I think there's going to be other structures. I mean, we already know that, I'll just go down to this long section here too, but we have the Copala 2 vein that we've intersected that's been very promising. I think that should have some meaningful high grades there as well. But it's clear that it's open, probably going to the source, I would imagine, to the east here as well. So we'll continue to drill that.
Okay, so you got 3 rigs going. This is just, you're going to be drilling indefinitely, I guess, as long as it's open. And looks like you probably got some holes to fill in as well in it. So what's the current? I mean, I know you had it in the release, but just for the purpose of the video, what's the current sort of dimensions that you're working off of now?
Yeah, so strike is about 900. Well, it's 900
Okay.
meters, and down dip is 400 meters, and then
Okay.
you know we we don't have this is not a bona fide number yet, but it appears that we're probably around that 10-meter average thickness.
Okay. That's a lot of tonnage. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a very impressive. It's a very, very impressive discovery. It's nice to see you got three rigs on it. I mean, is there anything? So if you got three at Capella, three at I assume three at Napoleon, and three still kind of jumping around from place to place
Yeah,
without
maybe
letting
I'll
without letting too many cats out of the bag. Is there anything else that looks like it may become a thing down the road?
well, I can't let too many of the secrets out
Yeah.
because
No, no,
there's
I
a
know.
there's a few thing-like creatures, I suppose, in the
Okay.
in the camp. But I'll tell you, there's a couple of things I'm quite excited about. But I'll just let you know where the other drills are. So one at La
Okay.
Luisa here, one at Cruz Negra, and we've actually filled in these concessions as well. So this is a bit of an older map where we are constantly adding concessions in the area.
Mhm.
And then we've also had a lot of success drilling here at Los Generales in the central block.
Okay.
But there's a couple of things that I get excited about, particularly in the western area here. La Luisa drilling appears to be going fairly well so far. This is interesting because Jesus and the team have discussed this and come up with a bit of a model for the western portion here, where apparently some of these veins have been covered by younger volcanics. So they haven't been eroded or they're still intact, ideally under those younger volcanics. So we're testing targets to find these preserved veins or shoots in the west under this cover. And La Luisa has had some early indications of success. We just there's more work to be done. Cruz Negra,
How are they targeting that stuff?
it's interesting because there actually are some very small, not well established old workings, and the surface grade is pretty low because it's so high in the system, according to our
Right.
as the way that we see it. Of course, this is early models, but there are some old workings there, and then the structures apparently have been mapped or inferred in the past as well. But we've got a ton of ground out here to the west that's covered by these younger volcanics as well. So that's been quite interesting from my perspective. Look, La Cruz Negra looks good as well. And then to the east, in between, say, the western area and the central block, this area has never really been mapped. We've got guys out there working on that right now. If we put more efforts into that the classic prospecting, mapping, trying to find targets in this gap area here. But this Agua Zarca, Cerrillo, these are structures that are around Copala. Agua Zarca is to the basically to the, I would say, the northwest of Copala, and it has indications of being a flatline structure as well. It has some historic mining on it that we get a bit of a feel for the orientation. It's early. It's still a question mark. We don't fully understand what's going on there, but we're working on it. I think that has some promise. And then Cerrillo appears quite promising as well. That's kind of northeast of Copala. But I think if I'm correct, it's about a kilometer runway from kind of where we are on Copala, where we're drilling on Copala. So, you can kind of see it here. If you look, we used to have a map of these vein fields, famous vein fields in Mexico, and Fresnillo, San Dimas, and you look at that, and it was a great map to have a few years ago when we started, because this was like a few red lines on the map, most of them running northwest in orientation, and then you look at San Dimas, and it's just a swarm of these red lines, these veins that have been mined or discovered, but you can see now over over time, our western area, if you were to take these blocks off, you would see all these little veins that we've discovered, and you see the major structures that are running, these cross-cutting structures that run through them. And this is just over a couple of years of steady exploration. I think in due time, this district will be a swarm of these red veins that we find on. And this is just the very beginning. It's pretty darn exciting. I think that resource update is going to be pretty sizable in towards the end of the year, and I feel like we've got lots more to find, certainly in the west.
Yeah, no, the story just keeps improving. Really, I think the only break you guys need, and I think you might even need this less going forward, obviously, is the silver price. I keep reminding readers that one of the things I really like about Panuco is, yes, it's a silver district, but a lot of these veins, and the newer discoveries are really typical of that. The whole sort of Tajitos area, if you will, including Capala. You got very high silver and high gold grades, low base metals, pretty clean looking stuff. It looks like, to me, it looks like very high margin material. From the comments you're making, you obviously you're not allowed to make a guesstimate, but it sounds to me like this thing's going to be coming in around 200 million ounces silver equivalent. There aren't that many of those around. There sure as hell aren't many of them around that have the kind of average grade that you guys do. So I think Vizsla, and anybody that's interested in precious metals generally, silver especially, I think anybody who is got to have silver. Panuco and Vizsla has to be on your radar, and it should probably be in your account like it's in mine. It's just this Capella stuff. Just it's the combination of size and grade. The leverage to the metal prices just keeps increasing here. So I think once silver has a decent rally, I would expect Visa to move quite strongly, and I'm happy to be positioned for that. You guys have done a great job, Mike. This just seems to be one of those stories where it's good news after good news after good news, and North America goes around either, as we're all well aware. Exploration is hard. So 3 rigs going, I guess. So we're just gonna keep seeing pretty regular updates from Capella, but I guess at some point some of these outside exploration targets and stuff, we'll start seeing more from those as well.
Yeah, exactly. And you're right. The exploration is hard work, but we're fortunate. We have a really really great team in Mexico and Canada that's making it probably look easier than it is. But the team's done an excellent job. And I would say that as we continue to go here, it's probably going to be maybe every 4 weeks or so. Copala, 4 weeks, maybe 6 for Copala news, but in between that we'll have your Napoleon news.
Right.
At some point we should have a La Luisa and Cruz Negra update, probably a corporate update where we don't highlight this very often, but I just talked about our team, but our community team is I would say second to none as well in the country. And they've done some incredible work with the ejidos. We've got long-term 30-year agreements with all the relevant ejidos in that cover this map here. So we'll probably have an update on that as well. It's those aren't the things necessarily that put the stock up 20%, but they're important milestones and important things that we like to highlight. So I think it's our philosophy here has been that we want to a lot of companies, and we could have really throttled back here and gone to just 3 rigs on Copala, say, or something like that. But I have a feeling that the market's going to improve sooner than we might think, and our philosophy has been that we want to maintain this momentum, and we've gone through the effort of being NYSE listed now to remove any barriers for entry for American shareholders. Vizsla Silver, I think it's going to become an important name, maybe the name, when we come out of this the slump in the precious metals. And I don't know any other company out there that's really adding ounces with every release that they put out like we are here. So I think we're going to have great momentum.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a great story all around. If you're not following Visa, you definitely should be. You need to understand Capala really, I hate the phrase game changer, but Capala really is a game changer. Their resource is going to grow a lot faster than I would have expected, and I thought I was being optimistic before, but as importantly, it's growing with something that's got the grade and the geometry that in a mining scenario, this would be very high margin stuff. And that's the name of the game. That's what gets you through to a mining decision. And not coincidentally, it's also normally what gets you taken out. The high margin players are the ones that go first normally. So, I mean, great name, great story, great team. Vizsla Silver, VZLA in Canada, and also VZLA on the NYSE Amex. Take a look at it, get on top of this story, because I just think there's going to be more and more good news coming. Thanks for dropping by, Mike, and obviously hope for a lot more success going forward.
Well, thanks, Eric. I really appreciate that, and it's great to see you again.